So Katie Owens here to bring you the reality. We want to thank www.gsslradio.com for this opportunity. And of course, our family all over the radio and social media sites. We love you. We love you. We love you. We have had a time. If I tell you, we've had a time this past weekend at our 58th midsummer convocation, and I've heard a lot. But there was something that I did hear that I wanted to talk about today, and of course, it's going to be news somewhat to Apostle KD Owens. So he's going to be coming straight from the dome is what we call it, the dome, that right from wisdom, according to what we're going to talk about today. But as we get started, let me move some things out the way because I don't know what page y'all looking at or what site you see. But we wanted to go ahead and pray us in, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So, Father God, we thank you, we praise you, and we give you glory for what you're doing, what you're about to do, and what you have already done. We want to ask that you would open up our minds, open up our hearts, so we will receive what you have for us on today. And God, grant us wisdom, knowledge from on high. We be careful to give you the glory and the praise. In Jesus' name, amen. And so, all right, wake up, Apostle. Wake up, wake up, wake up. On this weekend, I know y'all, we was talking about the power of, what was it? The power of
agreement.
So this will probably go into what I'm about to say. And thank you all for tuning in last week for, when I was on here. An Apostle, he was not on, but he's on today. So you're gonna hear from him today, as well as myself. But I wanted to just kind of bring to the forefront, this is a subject that is probably touchy on all levels, but we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna talk about it in detail. We might take more than one section, but we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna kind of focus in on servitude. What does it mean? How do you view it? Do you think it supersedes your title? Do you think that you can't serve without one? Do you feel that you need one to serve? I really want to bring up this topic because it was pretty touchy to me, and I know there's some people out there that may feel like I do. I've always been taught that ask your questions openly, talk about things openly, so that way those who have the questions and too afraid to talk about them or too afraid to think or talk on them, you have this opportunity to do so. So I was addressed this past week. If you watch my social media page, you knew that we was in it to win it this weekend. We went for broke. And on our last particular day, we had to dress in our attire, our official attire. And because I've been in so many different, is it affirmation, Apostle? Is that the correct word?
Reformations.
Thank you. I get them confused. Reformations. I've been in so many reformations. You name it, I've probably been there. I've served for a couple of months or so, to a point that I was giving certificates, titles, and what have you. But I know what God has called me to. And for that reason, I received all the certificates and titles that were presented to me. And but I know who God called me. I know who he called me, and what he called me to. So, as I was dressed in my attire, I was approached with many titles. asking me, am I this? Am I that? Am I, am I on the level of a pastor? Am I on the level of a minister? Am I an evangelist? Am I a prophet? Am I a songstress? Am I a worship leader? What am I? And I was just sitting there thinking, I have so many certificates telling me who I am and the reformation of all these organizations. But what does it really mean in God's eyes? And how does it affect my servitude towards Him? Because even though I wear the title of minister, I wear the title of evangelist, I wear the title of prophet, I wear the title of songstress, I wear the title of worship leader. What does that really mean in God's eyes? And how do I address people in a way that you won't offend them and you won't offend yourself, to make sure that people understand that you're a servant? After every title, after every certificate, after everything that they can label you in these different reformations, at the end of the day, you're a servant. So I wanted to bring this topic up because I know that there's a lot of people out there who may be in my shoes, or may have been in my shoes, or just approaching the area of this that I'm talking about. How do you address that, Apostle?
Give honor to God, who is the head of my life, to you, to GSSLradio.com, to everyone in respective places, to the listeners, to our audience. First of all, I want to say this, because I want to kill this spirit that we've been grabbing hold to and attesting and testifying and agreeing with, which is not true. Because titles matter. Let me say that first. Titles, they do matter. Because title bring order, bring balance, bring clarity. Because once again, if I'm in a room full of apostles and I say apostle, all the apostles gonna look back. But if you're the head apostle or the chief apostle per se, if for those that use that title in their reformation, and say chief apostle, because of that title that he carried, he's able to turn around and say, here am I. And no one have to wonder who, if that person that came into the room is talking to me. So first of all, let's get that out the way, that titles matter. And you can have a title and be firm in your title. And whatever title or whatever office or whatever gifting you have, whatever department you in, you have to serve in it. If I'm an apostle, I have to serve as an apostle. If I'm a prophet, I serve as a prophet. If I'm a pastor, I serve as a pastor. If I'm an elder, whatever I am, I serve as that. So you can't have a title and not serve. And also the serving comes before the title. The title is the reward that we get from serving before the title ever comes. Because I cannot have a title and serve just as well as one that has a title, or in some cases better than someone that has a title. So as human people, now I'm not gonna say just Christians, as human, we supposed to serve one another. As humanitarians, we supposed to be able to serve one another. You my neighbor, you my next door neighbor. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. I'm supposed to love my neighbor, whether my next door neighbor in my neighborhood or just another person in life. We supposed to serve, be kind one to another, be loving, and have a heart one to another. So before we get scriptural or biblically, just look at it in just a normal human state, that we supposed to serve one another.
Do you need a title to serve?
You don't need a title to serve. But if you have a title, serve. If you don't have a title, serve. At the end of the day, that's what we're supposed to do. Serve. You don't begin serving once you get a title. Say, now I'm gonna serve because I'm no, or you don't get dignified or get proud and say, I'm gonna stop serving and get people to serve me once I get a title. So throughout life, period. That's why I say without a title. That's why I say even as a humanitarian, serve as a human, serve each other first. Before you go to a church, at home, you serve your brother and your sister. You treat your sister kind, you treat your brother kind, you treat your mama kind, you treat your daddy kind, daddy treat your wife kind. And it starts at home. Charity starts at home, then it spreads abroad. So you don't need a title, as we say in the church world, a title. Or if I'm a janitor at the bottom of the totem pole and I mop floors, I'm serving as a janitor. Them bathrooms are clean because of that janitor serving, doing his duty, serving in the capacity of a janitor. I don't expect my CEO to come down and just clean the bathroom because that's not where he served. I don't expect my pastor shouldn't have to clean the bathroom, mop the floor, and do all this and that in the church if he's the pastor. Now, I know my pastor will because I see him do that he has, but that's not where he served. That's the job of lay members or someone that's delegated. Amen.
Why did you stop?
I said amen. I was done.
Okay. All right. I just want to be sure. I just want to make sure you stopped on your own or you stopped because something glitched.
Yeah, it did. The thing showed up and said start. It said the recording just stopped and it said now the recording is now starting.
No, that was me doing what I do on my end.
So like last time we did that, it only recorded 9 minutes, 6 minutes.
I do apologize, you all. That was a glitch in the system. But like we were saying that the servitude, is you don't have to have a license or certificate to serve. You can serve at any capacity. What Apostle intended on or commented on had a lot of value and about the titles. Titles do matter, but don't allow your titles to keep you from doing what you're primarily supposed to do, and that's serve. Our bishop stated on yesterday, had to think about yesterday. Yesterday, he mentioned about our titles don't allow it to block you from serving in so many words. A lot of times we get these titles, we get the titles of the apostle, the title of the prophet, elder, of course, the title of bishop, district missionary or missionary, evangelist, usher board, president, chairman of the deacon board, president of the choir, DOM of music, and then all of a sudden we're in a dictatorship instead of being the servant, because the higher you go, the lower you go. The higher order you go, the higher office that you have, the lower servitude that you go. What does that mean? I mean, that means the higher you are, the more service you need to be rendering. You can't lead a crowd of people if you don't know how to follow. What does that mean? That means that as a leader, you gotta be able to show me how to go down the path. It was an illustration that I saw. I think I saw it on, I've seen on many things, but I think I saw it mostly on one of my social media sites where it showed where this wolf, this snow wolf, white wolf, was leading the pack. And it wasn't leading the pack by standing to the side and saying, hey, go this way, go that way, go this way, go this way. It actually was in the lineup with the other wolves, and it paved the way through the snow and up the hill and down the hill. But it went through it prepared a trench or a pathway, so the other people that was following him was able to tread the same pathway. No one got off track, because that leader, that wolf in the front, was able to drive through the hard task portion of it. What are you saying? Our leader, if your leader is not a driver, if your leader's not strong, if your leader's not a go-getter, you can't expect the people behind you to be a go-getter. If you're going to be lazy and slow, guess what? Your people behind you that you're leading are going to be lazy and slow. I don't care how big your title is. I don't care how many certificates or letters behind your name. And this is just not for the church. This is for any organization. I work for a major organization. And we have many people, including myself, with some letters behind our names. And we work hard for the people that we have under us. Why? Because we're trying to make a way where it makes it easy for those who follow us to get to their next destination, or to make it easy. I'm reminded of the queen of an ant bed. How did she become queen? How did she get a chance to sit on the throne? That ant is not just sitting down there giving instruction to the other ants to work. That ant is actually getting the other small little ants prepared. She's training them while the other ones that are already trained are gone out. And what are they doing? The things that she used to do, because she's taught them how to do it. And then after she prepared them, she sends those ants out and get the next team to come in, which are baby ants, of course, and she trains them. And once she gets those trained, she sends them out. And she sends them out. So they're steady training. She's steady working in her position, training them to do that. Apostle.
It's kind of like my job. We have lead ladies and lead men. And in that position, they used to do what we used to do. They don't do it no more, but they know how. And in some cases, they have to train others to do the job. They're not going to do the job unless it's a 911 deficit where we are totally short and we can't find anyone to fit that place, or sometimes they just choose to want to get on the line, but they don't have to. It's not their job anymore. They are serving, but they're serving at another level, another place. And that's one thing that we got to understand too, to not make a person feel bad about elevation. Because when elevation comes, I elevate to another place where I serve. Don't expect me to continue to serve like a janitor. Come on, when I got elevated to an office job now. I'm gonna take my janitorial skills and train someone else to fill that spot so I can serve. I'm still gonna serve, but I just been elevated to serve in another place. Now, cause some folks say they get pastors, they think they out there because they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that and they don't do so. It's not mandated. It's not scripture. It's not biblical. It's not even etiquette for a pastor to have to clean the bathrooms and mow the grass. I know in some cases, cause there's no men in the church and the grass need to be cut and he don't have the finance to pay nobody, that he'll get out there and do it. But that's not his call. His call is to another level, and he serves that level. But because of his heart and because of who he is, he'll reach out and serve in other capacities when needed. So with that, we have to understand it too at the same time that, like you said a second ago, we train people to pick up the slack where it needs to be. Now, this is the thing. Some people feel like they're too good. Now, these folks that sitting at church that ain't doing nothing or sitting on a job and doing nothing, you ain't really benefiting the company. You really ain't pushing the company. You really ain't a key person, team player. You come to work and do the bare minimum on the job. Some folks come to church, do the bare minimum, just show up, sit on the bench with your $5 a month, but there's stuff that need to be done. And so when the pastor comes and say, well, I need you to, be the housekeeper of the church, because the church, needs someone to clean church. First thing you're gonna say, a hiring. How much you paying? Because you're not a true servant. A true servant say, yes, pastor, and do it. And don't worry about it. Your reward gonna come in due season. Go ahead.
You mentioned about on a case where there's not any men in the church. And we understand that church is majority of women. And but going back to servitude and the title, because the pastor don't have to, but to set up an example of how to be a worker.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's necessary to see your pastor get up and do stuff. So that way you will know that, hey, he's willing to get there with us. He's willing to join in with us. So my title doesn't mean that I can't be a servant. And that's my main thing, is it doesn't matter what my title is. Yes, I identify that my title is very important. My thing is, I can still serve at any capacity that I need to, without you having to identify all of my titles. I mean, that doesn't mean I can't serve just because of the unknown of my capacity, or my titlehood, I should say. And a lot of times people won't even allow you to serve unless they identify. And that's important in some cases. That's very important in some cases, because I don't know you. But if I know you and we know each other by the Spirit, then that's my question when it comes down to getting a clear understanding. Because like I said, some people out there who feels that I still can, I'm a servant of God, because we have the different, and I'm pulling the Band-Aid off. We have some reformations out there that feel that just because we don't recognize a prophet in our reformation, you can't serve because you're a peon, because you don't carry our reformation titles. I'm still a servant, regardless if you recognize me as you don't recognize me as who God called me to be. We're talking about callings versus titles. We're talking about calling versus title. I've been called to be a worship leader, but because your reformation does not identify worship leaders, and I use that one because I know pretty much all of them have worship leaders. They don't call them worship leaders, but they have praise worship leaders, whatever. But because your reformation does not identify me as a worship leader, I'm a peon up under you. So I'm just a peon. So when do we just stop? When we do, like we said today, time out. When do we do the time out and say, hey, she's a servant, regardless of whether you recognize the title or not, she's still a servant. Apostle.
It goes back to what the preacher preached the other night in the convocation about organization and organism. Organization is when you're not what they want you to be, so they won't use you. Organism is whosoever will, let them come. And when we get into a place to where, now, let me start with this. Whosoever will don't mean any and everybody.
Right.
Because
clear that up.
As a question I want to ask, and we might have to dive into it next time. But the question I want to ask is this: is serving a calling, or okay, that's the question. Is it a calling? And I'm gonna put it out there, and then I'm gonna kind of chime on this real quick. I say this is me. It's not a calling. It's a way of life. Okay, so the question that I want to ask is simply this. But I'm gonna kind of chime in behind the question as I ask the question. So it's something for you, things make you say, but I'm kind of chiming in on it. But the question is serving to or being a servant a calling? That's the question. But my answer to that, and I'm gonna let you kind of hit on it, Lady K. My answer to that is it should be a way of life, not a calling. Because a calling is something you got to work. Most callings, when you're in organization, you got to work yourself to these certain callings. You got to work so hard in Sunday school to become a Sunday school teacher. Work so hard from a Sunday school teacher to be a deacon. Work from deacon to be a minister, so on, so on, so on. But serving to ought to be a part of life for anybody in the church, anywhere you, from business to from the marketplace to your home. So it's not just a church thing. You said that earlier too. It's not just a church thing. Even if you are in a CEO of a company as a janitor, you have to serve. So with that being said, why is it so challenging for us to just simply serve without having to be recognized, having to be seen or patted on the back? Even if it don't take place, can we still walk in the and what we supposed to be doing naturally? Because it's a part of us, it's in our DNA to serve.
Give us that question one more time.
Well, simply, is serving a calling?
No, because like you said earlier, you can serve with or without. With or without. You can serve with or without. One period. You're frowning.
With or without what? Talk to me.
Well, you can still say what?
You saying without paperwork?
Yeah, without paperwork.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, without paperwork, without having to have your name on a piece of a certificate saying that, hey, you have put in 6 hours or 6 months of going to school to be whatever. You can still serve. I don't know anyone who went to school to serve as an usher. I don't know so many. No, I don't know so many people who went to school to serve as the cafeteria lady in the kitchen, the housekeeper. These are services that you're doing in the church, but you didn't have to get a certificate for it. I didn't get a certificate to go clean the bathroom, but it's a servitude that I did for the house of God. I didn't get a certificate to do outreach, but I do it because I'm serving God's people. So no, you don't have to have a piece of paper to do that. But on the other side of that, all of us have a call to do a servitude for God. Now, what level of calling? That is the question. What level of call? Because you can be called for the help. We call it the gifts of help. The gifts of help, or the calling of helps. This helps means just basically you go out and for those who are in mourning, or those who are in bereaved, widow women, single mothers. If you're able to help them, that's what we call helps. That's what we call it back home, helps. if you have a calling for young kids, some people go to school for that. You know, they have schooling for that. But if you don't have the knowledge base, because I have a pastor who said he could not go to college. But if I tell you he's a profound pastor, he didn't go to school for pastoralship. He didn't go to theological school. But he knows the word. This is something that God gave him. He didn't have to go get a certificate for that. But because he was in a place, a position where God can utilize him. This is servitude. This guy does servitude on a regular basis, not just on Sunday morning as a pastor, but even he put a video on our social media site where he was out at the basketball court. I think it was basketball court, or it was somewhere where they were skateboarding. And the skateboarding guys was trying to show him how to skateboard it, and he poured into them. That's servitude. Did he need a certificate for that? No. But that was a part of service. That's a part of serving, because we gave back to. What is serving? What is service? What is serving? It's giving to those who are in need.
Meeting the need.
Or in want. Because sometimes we can meet somebody wants. Might not necessarily be their need, but it might definitely be their wants. Somebody might want a better job. And because you're in a place that you can bless them with a better job, you give them what they want.
In order to be a servant, you have to be first selfless. You can't serve. Everybody's not, I ain't gonna say everybody's not anointed. Everybody won't serve. I'm not gonna say it because everybody's anointed to serve, because it's this what God, because we was made in his image and in his likeness. Jesus came off of the throne. He sit next to his Father in the greatest place for anyone to ever sit. He came down here and got beat, bruised, humiliated for us. He was the greatest servant was Jesus. So it's in us. I'm talking about for us who are Christians, for us who are non-Christians. It's in us. And so we can't deny the fact that it's in us. But some folks, Lady K, they just mean as the devil. Meaner than a junkyard dog. I'm talking about more wicked than the midnight hour. They just not going to serve. They just not. They just not. And then what make you wicked too, even if you have your picks and your choosing on whom you can go serve. Choose you this day, who you gonna serve was not talking about people. They were talking about between God and the devil.
But some people use that for their own self-gain.
Own self, full of pride, their own self spirit. When you can't serve, you have a self-righteous spirit. We always talk about unrighteous and being righteous, but what about self-righteous? Let's talk on that. Self-righteous is part of those who won't serve. Because you can. You go to work every day from 9 to 5. You hit that clock, don't you?
That's serving.
You got kids, you take care of your kids, don't you? You can serve. You can serve your neighborhood. You can serve your church. You serve your pastor. You go down there and serve the organization as a whole, the organization. But your organization because you serve the organization so. Let me say it real quick. I got to quit. You can serve an organization and become an organization and not an organism. We all supposed to be organism living. Why? Because what you pour into pours back into you. If my children bless me, guess what? I'm gonna bless my children. Or if a parent always doing good for their children and always blessing their children, the children gonna remember that. And then when the mom and them get older, the children gonna take care of their parents. They're gonna do for their parents. Why? Because it's you pour into me, I pour into you. And so if I pour into an organization more than I pour into the organism, which is my local church where I get my life from. Because you don't get your life from down up. You get it from up down. And the highs up for you is your leader who you see consistently every week, who pour into you, he preaching you on a consistency, who comes see you when you sick, who bury your cousin, who bury your unknown auntie. That's your organism. That's where you get your life from.
Right.
Now, where your leader get his life from is from the hierarchy. But you're supposed to come subject to, you don't go past your leader and get life from somewhere else and try to get life from somewhere else. No, there's an order to the thing. It said it starts from the head first. Come on, then it flows down to the skirt tail. And your highest head at that moment is your leader. And your leader is for your leader, not for you.
Right.
And operate outside of that organism, that's when you become an organization and you ain't serving right.
That's right. That's right. And as we come to a conclusion of this matter, we want y'all, we open it up, and y'all, I know that this is a touchy subject because we have a lot of reformations out there, and every reformation have their order of titles or order of licensures that they give out, and we want to honor those, in those reformations that we are a part of. Like I said, I've been a part of a whole lot of them. I'm not even going to go down the list, but I have a licensure in every one of them. So I want to across the board, just, go one by one on this topic, because a lot of people are in position, but they're just holding a position. They're not working as a servant. They're just holding a title because they have it, and feel like that gives them entitlement to things. But we're going to go into that a little bit more on next week. We thank you all for tuning in on today. I know that it wasn't one of our jolly topics, but we want to tear into this one really, really good, and want to peel back every layer of this lemon to get to the realization of what we really supposed to be doing. And so we want to thank you all for what you have done. Thank you, www.gsslradio.com, all gospel all the time, for this opportunity. And please, if you want to be a blessing to the broadcast each Thursday at 5:00 p.m., please go and call the radio station, or you can inbox us on our websites or our social media sites. You can look for Lady Katrina Ministries, www.LadyKatrinaMinistry.com, or you can go to Apostle KD Owens. He's located on all social medias. Y'all stay tuned. We're also going to be pulling up our website pretty soon. But what's the tea? And our YouTube page. So right now we're just feeding off of the website and the YouTube page of mine. And look, y'all get my music as well. I love you all. Love you all. Love you all for all what you've done. Please stay tuned to the next song. It's Lady K. Love you all.